So today I'm going to be transforming this beautiful nightstand. I found it at Goodwill for only $15 and I looked it up and I realized that it's made by Thomasville, which is a brand that makes really good quality furniture that lasts a really long time. So I'm pretty sure this is at least 50 or 60 years old. It's actually in amazing condition considering how old this piece is. All I'm going to be doing is just changing the color because I really don't like that orange wood. I'll be painting parts of it black and I'll add some legs to it to give it a little bit more height. So if you're interested in seeing how this turns out, then just keep on watching. So the first thing that I did was just clean the piece really well with Windex. This is just to make sure that there is no dust or anything like that that might make the paint look weird once it's painted or get mixed in with the paint or the stain. As you can see, I have a very curious dog and he just wants to be involved in the process, so you'll see him quite a bit throughout this video. The next step is sanding, and I'm using a 120 grit sanding block for this. I'm not trying to take off the finish. All I'm doing is just roughing up the surface so that the stain has something to grab onto, and you want to do this throughout the whole piece. After I finish sanding, I'm just using a tack cloth to remove any of the dust that got created after I sanded, and these tack cloths work really well and you can find them at Home Depot. All of the supplies I'm using are going to be listed in the description of this video. And we're finally ready to get started. Now this is the fun part. I will be using Danish oil to update the look of the sections of the piece where I'll be leaving the wood exposed. I want to give it a bit of a shine and darken it up a little bit. Danish oil is really great for this because it has a very satin finish and it looks very modern, and it's also extremely easy to use. You just apply it with a foam brush and then let it dry. It's also very affordable compared to wood stain. I believe the whole pint is around $12 and you don't need a top coat. I did 2 coats of the Danish oil. The drying time is pretty slow. I left it to dry for 48 hours because it's very humid here. If you live in a dry climate, it might take 24 hours. It just depends on the humidity and the temperature. After my 2 coats of Danish oil and waiting for it to dry, I'm now taping up around the areas that I'm leaving exposed and getting ready to start painting. I had to move outside because there was too much dog hair that would stick to the oil and become embedded in it. So if you have pets that shed, I would recommend using Danish oil outside because it stays tacky for such a long time while it's drying. It would have been much easier to remove the drawers instead of tape them up, but for some reason they did not want to come out, so I just gave up and taped them up. For the paint, I'm using Waverly chalk paint in ink, which is their black color. You don't have to worry about brush strokes, just paint in every direction and cover the area that you want. I did 2 coats of the chalk paint to the sides and the front of the nightstand. After my 2 coats of chalk paint, I'm using a water-based polyurethane and a glossy finish to seal and protect the paint. decided to also paint the inside of the drawer fronts black, just repeating the process, 2 coats of chalk paint and 2 coats of top coat. After I took off the tape, I realized that I don't like where I placed the line where the wood and the black colors meet, and I wanted to paint it so that the edge of the top board of the wood is also black. I thought it would just look better that way, and I'm glad I did. I gave it 2 coats of chalk paint and 2 coats of polyurethane to make it look uniform and match the rest of the black on the side of the nightstand. And this is the great thing about using chalk paint. You can paint over an existing stain and you can paint over like any finish. So just painting over that and adding the polyurethane made it all look the same. This was my favorite part, adding the legs. I bought these legs from Amazon for about $20 and they came with screws and instructions. I didn't read the instructions, but I saw the screws that they came with and I knew they wouldn't go into the wood without pilot holes. So I started drilling some pilot holes and I'm just using the legs as a template. The nightstand came with these plastic little legs that I was able to just pull right off with pliers. So the drill bit that I had actually ended up being too big, and the screws that came with the legs were too small and they were just falling right into the holes. So I had to go to Home Depot and get some bigger wood screws. So I did that. It wasn't a big deal, but I'm just such a noob when it comes to this kind of stuff. So it's still a learning process, and I was able to get it done with these bigger screws. So we're all done. This is the finished product. I styled it with some items just for the video. It will not be staying here. It's currently in my living room. I will be giving this to my mom to use as a nightstand. So although this piece is a vintage mid-century modern piece, I think the updates that I made gave it a little bit more of just a modern vibe, and overall I'm really happy with how this turned out. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it inspired you to go out there and find something vintage and give it a new home. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe and please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one.